Hey everyone, welcome to the video. This weekend, Scott Barnes and Andy Hall are coming over to compete in the Hemicuda Rally in their Peugeot 106, and you're coming along for the ride.
Morning all, just on the way to Scott's to load the rally car up. It's pretty nasty out. Bit foggy, it's cleared up a little bit, but hopefully it won't take long and we'll get on the road. Sunny day down here in Wantage, just loading up the car onto the trailer, the boys.
So, the Hemicuda Rally. The event is based in Cucalara, over here in Belgium, and the action kicks off on Saturday with the recce signing on and scrutineering before the teams take on one stage on Saturday night in the dark. And then on Sunday, a further 9 stages, 3 loops of 3 stages, where the 150 cars entered will take on a total of 105 kilometers across the 2 days. The event is a round of the Flanders International Rally Challenge, where Scott Barnes and Andy Hall will be hoping to claim their maiden overall victory. Let's get into it.
Here we are guys, service park, the 106, just getting ready for scrutineering, basically go through the legality of the car.
Saturday morning we started with the recce. The stages all looked really good. It was obvious the cuts were going to get quite big. Just by driving the stages you become a bit more familiar with how the feel of the stage is going. But overall the recce went well. After recce we had the one middle cookers stage run at night.
Alright. Alright.
The first stage was tricky. The biggest issue we found was there was nothing for the light to reflect back off of, so the lights were just shining into the fields. You couldn't get much depth perception, so trying to get braking points right, turning points right was really tricky. I think we had a solid run through that first stage, but there was definitely more performance on the table.
Came as a bit of a surprise to me in the left-hand seat as we rounded the first corner of the first stage of the event that we decided he was going to turn the lights off. So that was emotional for a brief period of time.
What happened on the first corner? I'm not entirely sure. I must have been reaching for second gear and just managed to clip the light stop, and we all went into darkness, sort of engaged stealth mode.
Fairly confident, I think, that we'd had a decent stage, and it came as a bit of a shock that the other guys had had a much better stage than we'd had. We finished the Saturday night with the mindset that the rally started on the Sunday, and the important thing was still to be in the rally coming out of that dark stage.
When we got back from the first stage, it was obvious that the car was not running its best on idle. We chatted to Ian at Performance Automotive, and he gave us some really good performance and things to look at. Sunday morning, everybody was teed up with what they were going to do. We were going to stick with the same tyre choice, rewire some earths on the ECU just to eliminate that as a possible issue, and then if that hadn't worked, we'd generate some new maps with more fuel across the entire map, just to ensure that we weren't running lean and that we could go out and not worry about health of the engine. So stage 2, Sunday morning, it was damp overnight, the roads were still wet, anything off the road was saturated, everything had water in it. So we knew that mud was going to be a strong issue, knowing that we needed to make some time up from the night before to our arrival. Scott
is one of those guys that's remarkably good at reading the conditions and finding where the grip is, even if it's minimal. It just felt like a solid, clean, quick run through. It was a good feeling in the car. We hadn't anticipated how well it had gone, but we knew that we'd gone through there at the best of our ability. The rest of the first loop, the grip conditions were pretty much the same. He picked the grip, we drove a clean stage, but he carried on building confidence.
I think at that point in the day we were 15th overall, which was just amazing. We're in hysterics, like laughing about the fact that we were so far up the order and just like couldn't quite believe it. We went back out for the second loop stages. First stage, after having a full field of 150 cars through it, was way more money, way more money. The cuts had really pulled out, and where it was muddy, it was like ice. Yeah, where there was no mud, it was bone dry tarmac, all concrete, and there was loads and loads of grip.
It all just felt amazing. The feeling in the car, there was no hiccups in the car, there were no mistakes from Scott, and I felt like I did a decent job on the notes, and at the end of the loop, you know, the gap that we had at that point reflected that.
Third loop, heading out to the stage, the sky's looking darker, but still dry.
I mean, it started on the road section, you know, you see the spots of rain on the windscreen.
By the time we were on the start line, it was fully raining. Again, feeling a little bit like Wervik earlier in the year, where my competitors had got through the stage in the dry, and then I had to compete with it in the wet. Cost us the victory that day.
It was an element of not again, but we knew that Tim and Renee had probably got through that stage before it had rained on dry tyres, and we knew we'd gone out on that loop, taking the safe option, trying to protect with being on the wet tyre.
I was pretty annoyed, just like the weather.
Initially, it was quite a catastrophic feeling in the car. You think, oh no, not again.
But there was nothing I could do with it. I was on the right tyre this time. So we were on the wet tyre, so I had all of the tools that I needed to get through that stage. we went through the stage. Through to the end of that stage, thinking we couldn't have done any more in there. Andy was really quick checking the times, and on the road section he told me that Renee had taken 36 seconds out of a minute buffer that I had. I was just like, not again. I'm not having this again where I've been had over by the weather gods. The next stage typically was quite dry. The rain hadn't been there. I knew that our competitors had gone out on a dry setup, dry tyres, so I knew that they would have the upper hand here, me still being on the wet.
So that second stage, he drove absolutely phenomenally. We were over 10 kilometres in that stage, and to only lose less than 5 seconds to somebody that was on a dry tyre in a dry stage, when we were on a wet tyre in a dry stage, was probably one of the drives of his career.
I remember coming across the line and saying to Andy, there is nothing more in there. Before the last stage, we knew that on level playing field, they probably wouldn't be able to gain that sort of time on us. Just keep doing what we're doing, and we should have this one.
From my side of the car, it was just sheer elation that the weather gods had finally smiled on us instead of everybody else. We turned up and we saw that the tarmac was shiny and soaking, and there was rain coming out the sky. And I don't think either of us have ever been so happy to see rain. It was a phenomenal time. It's the best ride in a rally car I've ever had. The 7.28k or whatever it was I've ever experienced in competition. It just everything hooked up, everything gelled, everything flowed, and yeah, it was a sheer joy to be sat in the car next to him.
Scott, you are at the finish of maybe the trickiest rally of this year for you. How was it?
Yeah, it was good. Very slippy. Hopefully we've won the class, and yeah, we've been pushing on the way. Yeah, it's a brilliant event, you know.
What's the next rally for you on the calendar this year? Alright, until then. Goodbye. Scott Barnes and Andy Hall.
For Christoph to come and poke his head through my tiny little window in my door and say, "Congratulations boys, you've done it," it didn't really sink in. I had to ask him what we'd done, and yeah, when he broke the news to us, yeah, it's sheer elation.
We've been close to winning all year long, but either through reliability or the weather gods, we haven't made it stick. But finally, on this event, we have made it stick, and we've taken away the first step YRC and first time at class, and a really good overall result with 17th overall. After the finish ramp, they put us in Parc Ferme, along with the first overall crew and the first historic crew, and then our little 106 parked in royalty of Belgium rallying. The whole crew are there to enjoy the moment with us. We're all just massively happy, massive hugs, absolutely on top of the world moment. Most importantly in all of this is the help and the backing that I have from my sponsors, my family, my friends, service crew. Without it, we couldn't do what we're doing to this level. I couldn't say thank you enough. See you in the next one.